focus. Ideate, innovate, enable. Yes Bank and CNBC-TV18 present the Growth Summit Vision for a $10 trillion economy in association with Max Life Insurance.
Innovation stands as the driving force behind India's economic growth, fostering groundbreaking solutions and propelling industries forward. India's sustained economic advancements stems from multiple factors, the most important being ideas, and ideas that stand out and enable the nation for itself to establish itself a position of global prominence. To further trace the scope of India's innovation and delve into the opportunities that it offers, I would now like to welcome my fellow panelists. Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome to the panel. I think I'll start with the Bangalore boys. I hear Raj is not from Bangalore, but everybody else is from Bangalore. Bangalore, we know is, I'll start with you. Bangalore, we know, is the hub of startups. The number of startups that are coming from Bangalore tops the charts. In fact, the number of startups that are led by women are also the highest from Bangalore. So overall, the culture is just right. The maturity is right. Everything's fit for Bangalore and the startup culture. But if Bangalore has to go and talk about its own tech aid, there is a lot of fixing to be done at various levels. Where do you think is the first bottleneck when we are talking about startups and entrepreneurship and pushing them towards the next decade?
Sure. So first thing is, I don't think we give the places like Bangalore enough credit, right? We have to recognize that states like Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, Gujarat, they are the engines of growth. If not for these states, we would be like, trying to find other countries where we could do donkey, right? Where we could just kind of go and find places to live, right? So that's the first thing. Second, I think 75 years after independence, we still have this mentality that, a lot of these Western countries are doing better than us, right? We at Campus Sutra, we are one of the few brands in India to have a global presence. In fact, we are the only fashion brand to be present in 22 countries. But I'm a firm believer that what's happening in Bangalore or what's happening in India is the place to be. You just have to be. I was in SF few months back, right? You just have to be in the Bay Area and just go to any cafe there and go to a cafe in Bangalore. The energy, the enthusiasm, just the attitude of people here is at different level. It is not the same, right? I think many of the countries in the West have passed their prime. It's our time now, and that's where I think we are currently.
Shiv, if I may get you in, I think one of the most important things one can look at Bangalore for is research and development. When we look at R&D, we are looking at a lot of companies doing very well, but are they putting enough and more money in research and development? When do you see there should be more emphasis on perhaps R&D for MSMEs, SMEs, and the companies that are now coming in the startup arena?
So historically, if you see, India was never a product company. We have always bought out technology from international market. A large conglomerate has also gone outside India, right from trucking technology, right from electronic technology or anything else. Okay. And talking about my own company, like we are into defense and aerospace industry. When we approach any investor or banker, the first question what we always face from anybody, be it a financial investor or bank, that, hey guys, from where you have got this technology? And then for first 20-25 minutes, we have to explain them that this is 100% indigenously developed technology. And we take pride that we are the first company across the globe, neither European nor a US company, who has supplied a state-of-art cyber-physical platform, which is a swarm of drones to Indian defense. Okay. So yes, definitely now thought process has started on this line. But yes, I'm telling you, there is no dearth of talent over here. Historically, we used to have brain drain. People used to go outside India, Western countries. Now we have got some 20-25 engineers back from Western countries, and we are developing that. Now, US Air Force Research is our partner. So they have outsourced some tech development to us. India has done very well, into services sector, into fintech sector. But now in the product sector also, we need to do really great. And again, we take pride that after HL, we have some 300 plus core research, scientists. And it's a huge budgetary allocation for us as a startup. So yes, we continue investing into research and development.
Wonderful. Manish, I'll come to your industry specifically. And, at the Growth Summit, this panel mostly also talks about what can we do for MSMEs and SMEs. And one of the things that all the companies and MSMEs are struggling with is clean credit. Credit crisis is cited as the most challenging aspect of growth and scalability as well. And we are of course in a funding winter. How then do we see more collaborations perhaps between stakeholders, private and public, or how do we bridge this credit gap in the next 2-3 years to come? Because we are, in spite of being a robust economy, we are still seeing a funding winter. So what is the solution there?
I think, funding winter is more for startups, right? MSME is what we call internally is they do the dhanda business,
True.
rest do the startup business, right? So the MSME actually needs the credit support and less of a funding support.
Organized.
Fundamentally. The government is doing a lot of, so recently I think they came up with this 45 days payment, and if you're not doing payment in 45 days, then it will go back into your income and you have to pay taxes and all. But I feel this is like overdue, right? Because what you're doing is using maybe a nuclear weapon to solve a problem, right? What it's leading to and what we are seeing in the market is a lot of companies, a lot of large companies are now saying that, hey, I don't want to work with MSME, right? So that's going to those extreme, because now you're saying that if you don't pay by 31st March, then your payment, your entire payment of MSME will act as your income, right? That's a big thing. I think we need to solve it carefully, gradually, and bring people into that concept. I think some of the things that has been done is pretty good, like TREDS, right? TREDS working fine, but TREDS is only working in PSUs, right? How can we make a lot of these private companies also get registered on TREDS and start doing with it, right?
Raj, we here is next level, hyper-personalized new age tech. To come up with a cutting-edge idea like this, what is the kind of industry support, incubation options, mentoring does one need that is enough and more to take that leap of faith that this technology will do well? It also includes R&D to a large extent. You have to test the product in the market. It's not easy. Having said that, when you're coming with, first we would like to know about the product as well, and when you are coming up with such a product in the market, what is the kind of support do you need?
What you say is correct. Building a IP-based product in India is quite difficult because IP requires passion, RP requires people, and when you have passion and people, and when there are foreign companies paying good talented human capital a bomb for it, for Indian startups to retain that talent for quite a long period of time is very difficult. So what we hear today in 2024 started in 2017. We spent 7 years in R&D, and I would say 90% of our expenditure was in R&D. So that's a total change from service sector where ROI, you deploy the capital and your ROI is within 12 months or 6 months. Building IP-based business is quite difficult. We recently aired on Shark Tank, and there was a comment of one of the sharks कि आपने बहुत unconventional funding journey लिया. So I said I went to a lot of VCs. VC talk about revenue multiple. Now, if 6 years I have spent without revenue in building an IP-based business, how do you value my business? Correct? So the whole valuation metrics needs to change. That valuation is not always on a revenue multiple or a balance sheet or a historic P&L. We are talking about a $10 trillion economy of future. So rather than valuation seeing on a rear view mirror, now IP-based startups need to be valued on a front mirror. You have to drive forward, not backward. So that requires a huge change from investors' perspective. That requires huge change from banking perspective, because IP-based business also requires a good kind of capex in terms of land, building, machinery coming up, state-of-art technology. Now those assets need to be financed, right? So if you want to go to a scale, The business that we are into, hearing business, is very big demand in India. 8.5 crore people are hard of hearing, and only 1.2 million people are able to buy hearing aids in India today. Why? The cost is exorbitantly high. So, if you want to make it democratized, we want to make it accessible. The initial capital required to set up that factory and setup is a bit more, and you don't have collaterals to finance that. So some new structures need to be put in place.
Uh, very well said that, when we are talking about developing prototypes, when we are talking about cutting edge technology, it needs to be supported and it needs to have the faith. And it's all right if one fails as well. At least the atmosphere, the environment is supporting you in taking those chances. Now, when we are looking at also the narrative of impact, ESG, equity, and then the whole startup culture, where do you think we are standing when it comes to the tech of the future?
Already a very big change has happened, right? I remember when we were starting our business, my co-founder, who was a techie and used to work, and he wanted to kind of leave the job and come. So, uncle ने बोला कि जब तक शादी नहीं होती तब तक छोड़ के मत आना. Basically, there was this whole thing that unless until if you are working in a startup and not in a corporate, you'll not get married, right? I think that has changed. Now, if you go to any good B school, the day zero companies used to kind of, people who were going to day zero companies used to look at consulting, used to look at some of these companies. Now everybody wants to work in a startup, right? So I think that's like a very, very big point that has happened, that culturally things have changed, where youngsters today want to one join startup, create their new companies, and that's how future of the country is made. I think that's one very big point for me. Second, you spoke about government support, right? And I take a contrarian view on this. I know that some of my panelists here are talking about funding and grants and support. I think these are minuscule things. I think what we require from our government, very honestly, I know there is great work happening on highways and railways and airports, but something that has completely not been fixed in the country is the intra-city infrastructure, right? So if you talk about even manufacturing, right? Where does manufacturing in India happen currently? It happens in the Pina of your world for people who are from Bangalore, and it happens in the Ludhianas of the world, right? And look at the infrastructure there. If somebody has to travel 2 hours to go to office in Bangalore, that is like, huge cost on that individual, on the company. If a person who's running a factory in Pina has to have power cuts, even in a place like Bangalore, has to put up a generator which is worth 25 lakhs, right? That's a cost to the company. That's a cost to the SME, MSME. So I'm amazed at whatever the work the government is doing on digital and whatever. But I think one thing that the government needs to kind of really get behind and fix is the city infrastructure. I think that's where we are like really, really crumbling, right? And the growth of MSME is directly linked to that.
YES Bank and CNBC-TV18 present the Growth Summit Vision for a $10 trillion economy in association with Max Life Insurance. YES Bank and CNBC-TV18 present the Growth Summit Vision for a $10 trillion economy in association with Max Life Insurance.
Richie, I'll take the conversation forward with you on the mindset makeup, right? Now we are looking at AI, Gen AI. We are looking at a deep-rooted fear amongst the young and the old about jobs being taken away. And when people earlier used to go to B schools, they were only getting job ready. Right? Having said that, employability in India is still a huge factor. 80% of what we are producing in colleges, according to employers, are not employable. So they spend a whole lot of money then on skill development, right? Where are we when we want to push the skill development? Secondly, when we are talking about these young people, and as they say कि एक इंडिया में ही बहुत सारे इंडिया हैं और हर किसी को पूरे इंडिया की प्रॉब्लम फिक्स करने की जरूरत नहीं है. We are good with if you are working in a city and if you can start a business that sort of fixes the issue of that city. So even to just push that kind of entrepreneurship, which is just enough scale for that city, what What kind of support do we need to build that mindset?
So let me break down the entire question into some 3-4 subsection of that. See, historically, India has developed, a technology, caretaker type of engineers. Okay. Now we have to develop engineers who think creative, who thinks out of the box, who wants to develop something new. Okay. So it should start at a school level where you should provide them, some enterprising skill set. We should learn something from either US or Israel. Okay, right from school days they provide that. So I think the current government is thinking on that line, like we have NEP, but still there is some resistance at the state level. Hopefully, yes, policymakers are there to roll out that. Post school level education, we have to think on adoption of newer syllabus which can provide industry 4.0 experience to the engineers. Now if these engineers or the technocrats they learn right thing during the education days, then there is no need for upgradation, upskilling of them. So somebody was saying that, okay, I'm not getting the right type of talent. Yes, because our boys have been not trained that way. Be it our IITians, and I make a statement that IIT level also sometimes the right type of education is not provided. Once they get into the industry, then they get a right type of practical experience and they are prepared for that. See, we are not feared about this, that AI and all that will take away the job. The same thing will happen in a different way. So in a warfare also, AI adoption has already taken place, but the way you are going to fight the warfare, yes, it's a different way. You are automating the warfare. You are adopting the tech into that. So we are, one should not be afraid of AI and that will take away the job. It's more sophisticated way of going to do the activities.
Two things that you can say is the need of the hour. I'll start with you.
I think, overall, we should not get too much fearful of AI and other things. I think what it's going to lead to is possibly better humans, right? I always keep on telling my team that no matter whatever comes, right, fundamentally everything is run by humans and humans are run by human psychology. Just learn the psychology part, you are good to go, right? And that's why it is, right? It's just making us, possibly AI will challenge humans more to learn more, do more, be more smarter rather than doing. And what he said is that it's making us more we were used to be a caretaker kind of a thing, right? And there's nothing wrong in that. So India was always used to be a lower middle class kind of economy, right? People were surviving. I can see a lot of founders here, a lot of them know personally. I know everybody has came from a lower middle class and trying to go up, right? So at that time, people are just surviving. Surviving means, he mentioned IIT, right? I'm an IITian. It's more about cracking JEE, going into IIT, get whatever the heck branch you are getting, right? You're not thinking about the job. You're thinking about just going into IIT, right? So whether you get a civil engineering, mechanical, electrical, computer, doesn't matter, just go, right? That's the first step. Once you pass the first step, the second step is to job, right? Now, now, for example, this year people are finding it hard to get a job, right? So if you are gone into a good, your luck is good, you pass out in a good year, you get a good job. You don't pass out, you don't get a good job, right? So where is the skill set development comes? It doesn't come because there is a lot of macroeconomic other factors which are coming into factor. What we require to do is make people more thinkable, right? People needs to be, and I totally agree with it, right? My daughter is studying in a school where they are telling her, from what we learned is like, this is polar bear, and polar bear lives in North Poles and all, right? Now to stay where she is learning that design an animal which can live in North Pole, right? Which is basically thinking, what do you need to live in North Pole, right? Maybe you need more furs, maybe you need a white skin or a brown skin, maybe something else, right? Maybe a wings also. So this is the thinking that needs to be put in the kids to understand, right? We were doing a lot of rote kind of a thing in terms of whatever has been fed to us, just do it and be silent.
So innovation in education right from the start. Absolutely running out of time. I'm going to give you 1 minute. Go for it.
Just continuing to the point that technology always I feel is enabler. So a simple example, when the chainsaw came into the picture, it was never a downfall for woodcutters industry. Instead of the hammer, they could do it more better. So I would say AI is an enabler. It increases productivity. And just like Pai sir said, India is talking about 3.6 times gap between nominal GDP to PPP. So we need to do things faster and better. So it's more about enabling the change, accepting into our own workplace. And just a few months back, I have started a special vertical in my company to train every person to use AI, may it be from a lower skill to a higher thing. So I always see technology as an enabler, and that's what even we should be investing in.
All right, on that wonderful note, thank you, gentlemen, so much for all your insights and for your time.
Yes Bank and CNBC-TV18 present the Growth Summit Vision for a $10 trillion economy in association with Max Life Insurance.